Welcome to this week's episode of Chaile Time, where we discuss and we give knowledge to the do's and don'ts, workplace, councils, anything labor related. Toby, how are you? And welcome to Chaile Time.
Oh, thank you, Tsepo. No, I'm doing well. As always, very busy. And yourself?
I'm great. Just also been busy.
You've been all over.
This traveling doesn't stop, but maybe I should give you an opportunity to tell me what is that you've been up to in the past few days or last week?
Well, we're busy with some cases coming up. A sexual harassment case, an employee dismissed for sexual harassment, taking the employer to the CCMA. But also busy with large-scale retrenchment processes in terms of Section 189A, being facilitated by the CCMA. So yeah, that took quite a lot of our time. There's a lot of detail involved in that process. And that's also what we will be discussing a little bit more in detail today. And yourself? I know you've been down to Mtata, yes, almost every second day now.
Yeah, I spoke to one of our clients there. I said, maybe you must find me a mkukunyana there or an apartment, so that I can reside there until everything is sorted, because at least once in 2 weeks I'm there. But
hey, that place, it doesn't get sorted. It doesn't get sorted.
But I think I'm getting it right. I'm getting it right because, a number of cases, it's going
It's
down.
dropping a bit, eh?
It's dropping.
Yes, there was a lot of cases.
Drastically, yeah.
In recent times, in the past, but now it seems to be dropping.
Yeah, no, it's dropping because if you can also check, some of the cases are from last year. It's a backlog because, the facilitation, it's a small place. It's not like large scale, like your Joburg, your Pretoria, your Benonis. Because it's small, you'll find that in a day, there's only like 2 or 3 commissioners, you see. So I think that is why maybe there's a backlog, but it's looking good. I was actually doing statistics in my head.
Okay.
And compared to last year when we took over that contract and then to now, there's a huge improvement. Yeah, it's looking good. Yeah, but let me not take much of your time. Just educate us about large scale and small scale retrenchment.
Well, look, today it's just a bit of a academic value to HR managers and IR practitioners who deals with large scale retrenchment. So I just want to quickly touch base on in essence, the difference between a small and a large scale in terms of the Labour Relations Act. But then we want to focus on the disclosure of information, okay? And something I have seen that can really frustrate the facilitation process, the consultation process, and maybe give some tips and advice to how to avoid some of these pertinent, I almost want to say potholes again, but let's call it speed bumps this time, So just basically, in terms of the Labour Relations Act, there are 2 retrenchment processes, and the common words or phrases we use are small scale and large scale. Now, in terms of Section 189, it regulates retrenchment processes, but it doesn't really regulate the process to the extent that a Section 189A process does. Section 189A process basically, first of all, to know whether you should follow a Section 189A process or not. There's a bit of a calculation there. And basically it starts off in a nutshell with if an employer employs 50 staff at least, So if you don't employ at least 50 staff, then the Section 189A process does not apply, okay? And then if you retrench at least 10 staff, but there's a bit more to the calculation. If you just look at the bottom of the screen, you will see actually the full calculation coming past there. So, but also, there are some other elements in terms of the Section 189A process or the large-scale process that are quite relevant and which are regulated. For instance, an employer cannot terminate contracts of employment at least for a period of 60 days after issuing the Section 189.3 invitation to consult notice. And also, what's quite telling about this process is that either party can actually apply for the CCMA to facilitate the process.
Is this what you are currently going
Yeah,
through
that is what we're currently busy engaged with this company, is a CCMA facilitative process. And typically the CCMA will put down 4 consultations, okay? Also some of the other pertinent characteristics of a Section 189A process is that typically, once a process concluded, a party can't file a dispute based on the procedure, okay? But that doesn't mean there are no remedy available if the employer do not follow the correct procedure. But in terms of Section 189A, the employee or the employee party, typically they can, one of the things they can do, for instance, is to apply for an interdict at the Labour Court to compel the employer to actually follow the correct procedure. But once the process is done, they can't actually file an unfair dismissal dispute at the Labour Court based on procedure only, you see. They can, obviously, after the conclusion of the process, either go on a strike, or they can choose to file a dispute at the Labour Court in terms of the substance, okay. But this normal Section 189 process, or the small-scale retrenchment process, is not so highly regulated. So basically, there's nothing there that says that you must, you can only retrench after 60 days. So it's a much quicker process. It's not so highly regulated. Obviously, it must still be a bona fide process in terms of a joint consensus seeking consultation process. Consultation, it doesn't mean negotiation. We're not talking wage negotiations here. We're talking about a consultation process here, okay? So there are still the elements that you need to consult on, okay? But it's not so regulated. There's no requirement for facilitation. There's no provision for that. It doesn't mean that you're going to have to consult at least for 60 days. And also on a small scale, you can file an unfair dismissal dispute based on procedure and substance. So that doesn't matter. But anyway, I want to talk about what I'm currently experiencing with this large scale process. And I think there's some good tips here that can really help companies going through a large-scale process, a Section 189A process. Now, let's just assume 2 things. Number 1, the reason why the retrenchment or the process is being embarked on is because of financial reasons, and often it is. Often it is because a company is losing money, or they're not making a profit, or there may be a certain project they're involved in and it's going south. They're losing money on this project. And secondly, often than not, there are actually unions involved. So maybe you approach this facilitation engagement negotiating with a trade union. Now, one of the key elements of a Section 189 process is indeed the disclosure of information. Now, if you're going to consult with a union, there are basically 2 kinds of information that's a given, okay? And you need to prepare for this. The one is financial information. If you are saying you want to embark on this process for financial reasons, they will want to see your financial records. Now, obviously, it's confidential and it is sensitive information. So it is advisable that an employer issue a NDA or a non-disclosure agreement with the union to make sure, that they keep and maintain the confidentiality of this information. That is quite important. And secondly, to set up typically what one of the good ideas will be is to set up a meeting between your finance department and maybe their accountant to have a controlled environment where they come together and actually review the financial records and extract the information they need. Don't just email in the documents.
Or so that now the one who's submitting the document can elaborate on what is this is what, and then this is how we got to the effect that
it's a control environment.
Yeah,
don't just give them the information and let them interpret themselves. Have a meeting with your CA maybe and their CA, or your financial manager and their financial manager, or their accountants, or whatever, and have it as a controlled engagement. Okay, so that helps a lot. But secondly, Chaile, and this is actually the crux of what I want to talk about today. We're now involved in this process. This process has actually been going on for a few months now, and this company is losing a lot of money.
Millions.
Yeah, let's not say how much.
No, I'll just say millions.
It is millions. So now you must remember, you get capital on the one hand and labor on the other hand. And they both have their own interests now. So the bosses are losing all this money and the shareholders are obviously not happy. And it's gone way beyond the 60 days already. So now we're at this facilitation process. Okay, we agreed to only have like one facilitation consultation meeting because the 60 days already expired and the employer's intention is to terminate the contracts. But throughout the whole process, Chaile, the company can actually not disclose accurate information who's actually employed by the company. And you know how embarrassing this is?
Yeah.
Because the company will have organograms and all the different positions in that division. But when you sit with the facilitation, with the commissioner and the unions, the union laugh at you. They say, no, the people you have on your payroll system is not actually the people working in this business. So there's a lot of ghost employees, and you know what happens practically? People exit the business, but payroll is not notified. Or payroll is notified, but they
don't terminate.
They don't terminate them on the system. So you have all these ghost employees. So the question is, how many of these employees or ghost employees that doesn't exist are actually getting paid every month? Okay, but that's a different conversation. But what also happens a lot is that employees get transferred to other jobs or vacancies or projects or departments in the business. But there's no transfer document to payroll to say, okay, this guy is not a let's say a mechanic anymore. He's now a foreman.
Promotion.
Now you come to a facilitation meeting like this and you present an organogram based on your payroll system. But then the union is, this is not what's happening there. You may say, you know, you've got 5 managers. You want to retrench 2, you only need 3. But when you check what's really happening there is only 3 managers. Now you want to retrench all of them. No, it doesn't work anymore, you see.
And it doesn't make sense.
The 60 days is now 120 days already. Every single time it comes down to the same thing. The company don't know who is working for them. Because the payroll system is not cleaned out. And what's interesting is now you've got multiple HR managers in the company that all have different data in terms of the payroll system. So the payroll, whatever they're using, doesn't speak to each other, or the recons on the data doesn't speak to each other either. And they don't actually know how many staff are working for them. But now you sit at the CCMA, and eventually the commissioner says, like, listen, if you want to continue with this, you at least need to clean out what you're doing. Clean out your system. You must know who's working for you and the positions they hold.
I can imagine how embarrassing is that.
It's frustrating just because, and you know what, this is typically telling of a large company, you know. So when you approach the consultation process, make sure the data you have in your payroll system balance with what's actually happening. So we now agree to another postponement. The shareholders or the CEOs, they're up in cahoots, okay? But we're actually having a physical validation with the union and the company HR, walking to the site, person to person, and say, hey, Chaile, okay, you are what? A mechanic. Okay, where are you working? Yeah, right. Sign, union sign, company sign. So we can know you really who you are.
But that exercise, how long is it going to take? Give or take, because I think you were talking about...
the exercise will take so long. It'll probably take a few days. But the point is, it's 120 days now we're starting with the process. Because up to now, you think you know who's working for you, but you don't know who's working for you.
But eventually it's happening. So imagine if it's going to take 6 months not getting it right. The company keeps on losing.
Yeah, but every month you must pay the staff.
That's what I'm saying. The company keeps losing. And the main aim they are in this process is that they want to now start saving their money that they've been losing for the past, I don't know how many years.
So, in a nutshell, when you approach any retrenchment exercise, go and look at your payroll system. Clean it out. Go check and see that the people who are on your payroll system is actually working there in the positions according to your payroll system. If not, fix that before you engage. Otherwise, it's just going to frustrate the process, you know. And I want to conclude with a case that a lot of people know about. It's a Woolworths case versus Sakau on behalf of Moong and others. It's a big case that went from the CCMA straight through to the Labour Court, straight through to the Labour Appeal Court, straight through the Constitutional Court. Woolworths retrenched staff in 2012, okay? And Chaile represented 44 of their members. And eventually, 6 years later, a final decision was made, the Concord. Okay? So what happened there basically is the Constitutional Court ordered 6 years later for all the staff to be reinstated and back paid. And you know why, Tsepo? It's because, and it seems like the process followed by Woolworths was flawless, except that there was a proposal made by the union which Woolworths did not understand.
Did not understand
They
or
didn't
ignored?
understand. No, they didn't ignore it.
Oh.
They didn't provide feedback on that proposal because they acknowledged then in the courts that they didn't understand that one proposal. So the courts basically said that, look, we don't know if that proposal would have been feasible or not. That is up to be seen in terms of the consultation process. Reinstate all the people, back pay them for 6 years, and go consult about that proposal. And how I want to draw this back is that if you don't have accurate data, and in this case it's not that Woolworths didn't have accurate data, but if you don't have accurate data, like in the case we are talking about, it also relates to confusion. I mean, what if the employer now terminates a contract? What are you going to tell the court? The union is going to say, but listen, we couldn't meaningfully consult or make proposals because the employer could at no stage actually tell us who's working for them and who they want to retrench. So there's confusion here. There's a lack of understanding here. And now you have to tell the employers, but listen, your risk, if this thing goes, if they go to the court, you're going to be in a much worse position. Then we're going to start again. Re-employ all of them, reinstate them, and back pay them. You see, so it's vitally important that you overcome all these hurdles where people can say, I didn't understand, I am confused. Yeah. So getting your data correct before you engage on that process. Understand this. Especially with large-scale retrenchments, you will probably have to give financial records, and you're going to have to be able to show who's working for you, in what positions, do your organograms, and who do you want to retrench. And to save you time and frustration, know who's working for you, and that your systems and your organograms balance. Otherwise, the union is going to sit there and say, listen, these guys are not like working here. This guy is a manager, not a painter, like you are saying. But anyway, yeah, so...
No, the thing
that's
is,
for today.
Thank you very much. The thing is, know your laws, know what to do. Like Toby said, you will find the proper calculations there on the screen. And the most important thing, talk to us. We're going to help you. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again next week.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. Yes, to get more
Thank
of
you
our
very
Chaile
much.
times.
Thank you, Toby.
Thank you. Tsepo?
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I've been in cases where the commissioner will sit, hi, I'm a pastor.
Next week on It's Chaile Time.
And then he will start giving me the gospel. I like the gospel.
Yes.
For those, I'm just saying, okay? And this is my interpreter, and then he's like, I'm a pastor too. Then he gives me the same gospel. So half an hour later, we all converted, and now we start conciliation.
So the question is, how long will one process take? Does it have a time limitation, or it's just fast, depending on your negotiation skills, depending on your level of knowledge?